Hello everyone and welcome to round 5 of the 2019 GR Supra GT Cup. Today we are going to be watching drivers from our European region, and to call you through the action is myself, Chris McCarthy, and alongside me, Jimmy Broadbent.
Great to be here, Chris. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, as I said, this is round 5. 4 rounds have been completed, so let's look at the points standings at the moment. Pirata is at the top of the table and in a pretty comfortable lead, it's fair to say. 5,859 points for him, around 500 points ahead of Coque Lopez, the Spaniard. And then we've got a lot of drivers behind him in that chase for second place.
Fairly dominant there by Pirata. You see second, third and fourth very hotly contested. One good result, neither of those guys could very easily shake up the order.
If they have a good result today, I tell you they would have done very, very well indeed, because the circuit they are taking on is probably the most difficult in the world. It is going to be the famous Nürburgring. Well, this is going to be an interesting one, particularly in these cars as well. A very, very long circuit, very technical. That's how long it is, exactly. Of course, we've got the GP layout at the bottom there as well, Jimmy. So lots of places to overtake. We've got that long back straight as well, which is going to be interesting towards the end of the race and could decide the winner.
Yeah, despite the length of the course, there are only really a few good places to overtake. The Northern Loop, on the bit on the end of the GP circuit, I should say the big bit on the end of the GP circuit, is essentially a single file track all the way around, so positioning yourself is very important.
Well, things like running wide and making contact often lead to penalties. Where are those penalties going to be awarded? Let's have a look. Well, if you pick up a penalty on the last lap, that's going to absolutely destroy your chances of a good result going down the back straight. But we've also got one going onto the GP layout as well, which could really hamper your chances of a good result.
Just a couple on there. Essentially, they're placed to really have the maximum effect, so it really deters people from going out and just driving silly. Of course, these guys are good as they are, but sometimes you need to have a couple of rules there as well, just to keep them in check.
Well, that's the points in the track. Let's have a look at the details for this one then. And there they are on screen for you. So we're in the Toyota GR Supra RZ. We're on the sports hard tyre. 3 laps around it, 15 times tyre wear. So that sports hard tyre means they can absolutely push to the limits, because as you can see by our strategy graphic, they don't have to come into the pits either. So well, it's pretty much a straight flat out one to the line.
I think the strategy guy had a bit of a day off of this one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll call this one in.
Yeah,
well. But that's not to say though, towards the end of the hard tyre won't become a bit more worn, so even with this sport hard compound being very durable, the behaviour of the car will change towards the end, and our drivers are going to have to adapt to that.
Well, that's everything you need to know. Let's get straight down to the grid and get this race underway. So 3 laps it's going to be around the Nürburgring circuit. There you can see our cars, everyone in the same boat. Same cars, same tyres, same strategies. It's just about the driver. And there is Mick Hizal, TRL Lightning on pole position. RC Snake 91, another familiar name, the Frenchman, starting in second place. Third place is Williams Fouveros. Recognise that name as well, the Hungarian. Then we've got Pirata, our championship leader. The Italian starts from the outside of row number 2. Row Stig is going to be on row number 3. I say row number 3, it's a single file start, of course. PR1 Josite, the Spaniard, is going to be 6th place. RK23 will be 7th place. And then in 8th place is Oscaro.
As in the rest of the grid from 9th onwards, we have Williams Coque Lopez in 9th position. He won't be too happy with that. Very competitive there is Mr. Coque Lopez. Then we have TRL Manu Rodri in 10th, rounding out the top 10. Then just outside of the top 10, we have Nico N. He's in 11th position. Then down in 12th, we have PCM STJ. Lots of letters in the particular order there. Portuguese driver in 12th. Then TRL Org, another very fast red line guy. A bit further down than he'd like to be, in 13th. 14th is unfazed 59. I'm sure he's not been phased with that qualifying though. 14th isn't the best result. GTP Aguera in 15th position, the Portuguese driver. Behind him there is Adrea in 16th, the Spanish driver, probably hoping for a better result than that in qualifying. TRZ Leonidas is in 17th position. Then down in 18th we have Nick 91, the Italian driver. Then behind him in 19th position we have ZKP 19, the Brit. Just outside or just ahead there of lots of, well, that's a username and a half, that is. That's
what are we going to go with?
Probably why he's in last there, 20th place. He couldn't quite figure out where he was going, but that is our grid there. 20 drivers taken here to the Nürburgring 24-hour layout circuit, so a cramped circuit, I think. It's going to be fun for us to watch.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting race, of course. Let's hope they all keep it nice and clean through turn number 1, and well, getting into the lead going on to the Nordschleife layout is going to be one thing that could be key on this first lap. And I tell you what, that TRL Lightning, Mick Hizau, he's been a dominant force at some World Tour events, and TRL Lightning is, well, not surprising to see him at the front here either, but that is a very, very competitive grid in the European region as ever. We are never surprised to say that, and TRL Lightning is going to lead us down to the hairpin for the first time. On home soil as well, TRL Lightning will be really hoping to take the victory here more than anywhere else on the calendar, I'm sure, as we are getting the tyres up to temperature and going down to the start-finish line for the first time. Watch those lights ahead of us. That's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5. That means it's now green, and off away we go then. TRL Lightning leads us down towards turn number 1 for the first time, already pulling to the outside there just to get across to the racing line as we approach the braking zone for the first time. RC Snake 91 just taking a more middle line there in terms of braking zones. That's not unusual to see around here as they go now into the left-hander. Williams Fuveros just behind, one of the Williams esports drivers, of course. Pirata, the championship leader, there in 4th place as Mick Hizau then down towards the left-hander. No such problems so far, and I don't believe anyone else has run into any particular dramas either then as we come down towards the right-hander and downhill to the hairpin for the first time. It looks to be closing up for 3rd place.
Yes, at the moment it just seems the drivers trying to find a little bit of rhythm. Of course, as you said there, Chris, Fiveros Williams has fallen back a little bit into the pack. Parata and Rose Stig there, of course, eager to get by as quick as they can. We always say with the Nürburgring, the 24-hour layout, the GP circuit is relatively full of overtaking opportunities, and then the Nordschleife and the Northern Loop is, well, has very few, and you see that Parata getting all sorts of sideways, trying to get a good run out of the Dunlop hairpin. Now we come through the Schumacher S. You see the inputs there at the bottom right corner of the screen. It's flat for these guys, but it was flat for a while. He thought better of it a bit, got off the power mid-corner, then back on again. Of course, a reminder, these are essentially road cars, so we have road suspension and road tyres on it as well. These are not race cars, so you're going to see them be driven a little bit differently to what you're probably used to with these guys in these races. They're usually driving Group 2 cars, Group 3 cars, and they have downforce racing tyres, so sliding around those things is not really a good idea. In this, however, you're going to see a lot of that. Getting the car a little bit sideways from the corner is the fastest way through.
Yeah, this looks more fun to me, certainly to watch as well, as they can run absolutely nose to tail through corners, sliding it round as well. There you can see Mick Hizau then, as we go on to the Nordschleife circuit, is going to be leading the way from RC Snake 91, and this is when it comes incredibly difficult to overtake, and this is where we although these guys, of course, are very experienced drivers, particularly those guys towards the front, this is where we may see 1 or 2 mistakes made, so it's going to be a race of endurance, despite the fact it is only 3 laps on that counter. This is going to be a long race, around 30 minutes perhaps, as they just now come downhill for the first time. Looks like Rostig is in 5th place under a little bit of pressure. There is RK23, also under pressure from his countryman Oscaro, but dealing with it pretty well at the moment. 2 Spaniards behind that want to, which we'd expect actually to be up there with the likes of TRL Lightning, but Coque Lopez and Manu Rodri just struggling a bit in qualifying. They've got now a huge task on their hands. It's not what you want to do on a track like this, qualify mid-pack.
I just firstly say how great it is to see 20 of these cars flying through the corner. Also close, HRG there goes a bit wide on the entry. I think I've seen some people taking that.
Yeah,
they put a wheel in the grass to get round, and somehow the car grips. I have no idea how that works out, but of course, if it works out for them, then why the hell not? You know? But yeah, I mean, Coque Lopez, Thierry Manu Rodri. I find that Manu is very much like a hot or not a lot of the time.
I agree.
He's either really on it, or he's just not really got that edge that he needs to be at the top. And I think maybe at the moment he's more towards the latter, of course. But going on to the Nordschleife circuit is completely different. You go from this very modern, very modern-day racetrack, I should say, very open, lots of runoff, etc., onto the Nordschleife, which is just a relic of yesteryear, and which is just essentially one single line circuit all the way around for 20 odd kilometres, and it's a big challenge to go from those 2 different types of circuits. The be able to drive them both well. Look how much bigger the curbs are, for example, here in the Nordschleife Northern Loop here. You can touch that and it will throw the car off to one side. And luckily these guys are on the road suspensions, they can take advantage of it a little bit. But in a race car, you hit that, you just get pinged off to the other end. It's quite funny actually.
So I mean, I imagine if you're used to, these guys, you know, they're used to driving Group 2, Group 3, even Group 1 cars, like you said, getting in these, how different is it? You know, you have to really adjust your driving style, I imagine.
Well, I mean, you've got less everything. Like, I mean, this Supra is a pretty quick road car. Like 30 horsepower or so, V6, rear-wheel drive, all the things you kind of associate with a sports car.
Yeah.
But it's nowhere near a racing car. You know, these things have road tyres. That's the big limiting thing. The road tyres are the things that essentially means you have to slide through the corners. That and no downforce. So mid-corner speed isn't really there. It's essentially the grip of the tyre. As I said, there's not much grip in the tyre. So you end up having this, it kind of feels a little bit like a boat when you're driving compared to a racing car. But to be fair, compared to a racing car, racing is like a boat.
Yes, that's very true. Well, Kizao certainly looking very, very comfortable out front at the moment, taking all the curbs and not being phased by that, keeping the car under control from a racing point of view anyway. It may not look like it at times, but I can tell you Mick Kizao is absolutely flying at the moment. What about battles going on a little bit further down the top 10? RK23 just trying to close in on the Spaniard ahead at the moment, but not with any joy so far. It doesn't look like we've seen too many changes just yet, but wait till we get to that back straight. Imagine it's as close as this. What's going to happen then? It's going to be absolute carnage, isn't it?
There's actually a free-for-all in the back straight when this draft. It's whoever just goes first, and we've found, or we think, of course, that at the end of this race, the person that's leading onto the back straight is not going to be the person who wins the race because of how effective the draft can be. Even in these cars, it's long enough straight that it definitely comes into effect. You know, it's not a comparison to make, but I kind of think in some aspects, or so in terms of racing anyway, the Nordschleife is a bit like Monaco or something like that.
Yeah.
Because you can't really get by anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's like maybe 1 or 2 points you can kind of try it, but it's just following the guy in front. And if he's say like half a second slower than you, just slow enough that you can't get round, you've got to wait for him. Like on the Scara there. Edgy, the Dutch driver, and a big old slide coming through the fast left hand. It's very easy to do there, and maybe ticking up dust as well. So I mean, all these guys are really
someone's off. Fuveros, I think. We're almost off. Yes. Is that Fuveros we're picking up wide? Yes. And Pirata gets a penalty, so I don't think that was a mistake by Fuveros. I think that was inflicted by Pirata, so that's going to destroy Pirata's races, and that's huge. He's our championship leader, of course. A healthy championship, a healthy gap, in that championship. This is what Pirata didn't want to do. Let's have a look at the replay.
There we go, couple on the inside here, and just a little bit too late on the brakes. I think maybe it's a combination of him being a bit too late and maybe Fuveros being a little bit too early.
Right.
But of course it is really up to the driver behind to make sure that doesn't happen, so that is a penalty there for Pirata. And as you said, Chris, that's going to completely ruin his race because come the back straight, we have the penalty, and every car behind him will drive past, essentially, pretty much every car. He'll probably be down at 18th, 19th place after that, so we'll be watching his recovery, I'm sure, but I know he'll be in the cockpit now. You see he's flustered now, isn't he? He's throwing the car over the curbs, not happy driving with Pirata right now.
Yeah, the only big gap we have in the field is down in 19th, where ZKP is about 4 seconds back from Nick, so maybe he might get out in 18th, but that is a real disaster for the championship leader. And I mean, it's not worth driving. I mean, I know a mistake is so easy to make, but when you're in a championship lead like that, it's I guess you have to change your approach to races, surely.
Yeah, but you can err on the side of caution, you know, like if you know you've got a big gap, and maybe it's just worth not pushing hard. I mean, of course, this might count towards a drop for him in this case. And
it's gone up to 5.5.
5.5, so he's now throwing it over the curbs and just making things worse for himself. And you're going to see in about 2 minutes' time just how much this is going to affect him when it comes to the back straight.
Yeah, we're not far from it, as you can see by the track map graphic to the right, to the top right hand side of your screen. You'll see that long straight is not far from us at all, and Pirata, now you can see how far away he's dropped back from the top two. Of course, some of that was because of the incident, but I'd say most of that is because of the way he's now driving, and look how much pressure Rostig is putting him under. Oh, look at that. Yeah, well, all out of shape and taking bit of dust and a little bit more as they now come around the right-hander into the left. This is a very, very tricky part of the circuit, and what they were going through there, I believe, your favourite part of the circuit.
Oh yeah, the second carousel. I think every time I see this corner, I make a point of saying how much I dislike it. It's just the first carousel is kind of iconic. The second one is just annoying.
Yeah.
It's not really a good line through it. So yeah, here we are.
Here we go.
You're now seeing the slowdown coming to effect, and when that bar fills, it will fill when we get to the lines, which you'll see at either side of the circuit just coming up here. There are the markers.
Yeah.
So it's going to now be off the throttle for 5.5 seconds. Now watch this.
Right, here we go.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Yeah, that's it. And now, not only has he lost all those places there, he's got to get back up to speed again, because that takes a very long time in this car. It's not a racing car, it'll take a while. 12th, 13th, 14th place, there you go. So he's dropped from a potential third position down to 14th. He'll be so mad inside that cockpit right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a long way to go in this race in terms of time, but look at that train of cars. It's not going to be easy to come through, and it's going to get worse because the Portuguese driver there, Aguilar, was just about to come through, and what did go past actually. So down to 15th place now. So let's return then to the driver who picked up third place and who is getting all out of shape and is pushing far too hard. And Fuveros is going to pick up third place very, very comfortably. PR1, the Spaniard, is now trying to go through to fourth place as well, but there was just a little bit of contact, and we're not surprised.
He essentially drove the Spaniard into the wall there to try and stop him from going by onto the right. I think we just about caught the end of it, but don't be doing that. If you've made a mistake, you've got to carry it. You can't be blocking people, and that's a 3-second penalty there. But that all started where he just drove the car. He just took a bit too much speed to the end section. It's very difficult getting that braking right there, because essentially you go from going VMAX in this car to having to stop the car whilst going through a series of corners.
Yeah.
And of course, while this is a road car, it's a bit heavier than a racing car, so the rear is really going to move around a lot. I think it just got a little bit loose, had to gather it up, and when you're doing that, you can't brake. And essentially then to listen. Now he's going to be getting a 3-second penalty down to the Dunlop hairpin. Not quite as damaging this one, because of the hairpin that follows. So
he may hold on to 6th.
Might do. We'll go straight to the inside here. Now there goes Williams. Jorge Lopez making his way up the field very nicely. I'm sure he's happy with that. He's now up to 6th position. He was in 9th last time we checked in, and Emmanuel Rodri also moving up a couple of places up to 8th. That will also be due, of course, to other people getting penalties, but a place is a place, right?
Yeah, well, that's a sign of Jorge Lopez going up to 6th there. It's a sign of you don't sometimes need to actually make any moves around here. If you don't make any mistakes, then you'll just pick up places very comfortably. And I think Jorge Lopez, certainly the timing graphics throughout this race hasn't suggested he's made any mistakes. He's dropped Manu Rodri, so clearly Jorge Lopez driving very well and picking up places as a result. Let's return to this battle for third place then. Josete versus RK23, coming up to a very fast chicane. Very different to what we see on the GP layout itself, of course. This one a lot faster. Here we go.
Fun as well.
There you can see.
It does take away a overtaking opportunity. You can't pass through.
No.
And just to very quickly go back to the point you were talking about before, Chris, about this being a fairly long race. Myself, I'm very much into endurance racing, and whilst you would usually consider a half-an-hour race an endurance race, I think in GT those kind of length of races aren't quite as popular. And we always just say to the drivers, like, listen, just go round and get to the finish, and then we'll start thinking about our position at the end of the race. Because if you go in, first lap around him, and you saw him at Ferrari, you go in being quite aggressive.
Yeah.
The race is over before you've even got a chance to get to the last lap. So, I think there is a level of being conservative that does aid you in this kind of race, but after all, it's still a sprint. You know what the Norwich life is like. You have to get by as soon as you can, and just try not to be held up in the cars in front. So it's a bit of both, I think.
Yeah, managing that just takes experience, I guess. It takes for something like Pirata, for a race to go wrong, to try and learn from that.
Take that line again there,
I mean, I would never ever think of doing that.
No, I think so.
I've done this track a few times. I've got lost a few times, as I said at the start. But
maybe he's using the rotation there to get in. Because I think you turned in the car, but just I guess he sort of figured out here. Meanwhile, anyway, our battle for the lead. Yes. Now I did notice at the end of the lap, RC saying was a lot closer to I can imagine, because of the massive toe down the straight.
Yeah.
But the gap hasn't really gone beyond 0.8 of a second in the last half a lap or so. So RC Snake starting to make his intentions a bit clearer to TRL Lighting, saying I'm here and keep your eyes on the mirror. that can be half it around here. If you know you can't overtake someone,
Just put pressure on.
keep them mirrorful. Just move around a bit. And one of my favourite moves to do, and I think I'm sure for you as well, Chris, when you were back in your racing days, that you just you go to the inside for a corner, a long time before the corner, and then you just duck back in at the last second. Right?
Yeah.
They look back, they see you like, oh, he's on the inside.
Yeah.
And then they'll maybe give you a bit of room, and then take a slower line through, and that gives you that little bit closer. So.
Yeah. Even braking in the middle of the track, just so they think, is he going to? Surely he's not going to dive down the inside here. It can distract drivers, make them miss their braking points. But definitely, I think RC Snake 91 got round the first lap in one piece, no problems. Stay within a tow, stay within a range to pick up a tow. That's happened, and now it's time to start just upping it a little bit. But Mick is out front's going to make that very difficult for him. I think we both know that.
At the risk of sounding maybe a little bit biased, I'm always potentially always just impressed by Tyrrell Lightning, just like the adaptability. I mean, we're hearing road car supers in the Nürburgring, and he's fighting for the win. And it's a name you always seem to see at the front. And I said to Tom last time when we were commentating that if you don't see him in the top 5, you think what's happened?
Yeah, something's going wrong.
Yeah.
It's one of those, and it was no surprise to see he qualified pole position. He really is at that level at the moment.
Not to take away from the other guys.
Yeah.
Because they're all incredibly quick, and we always like to try and say that context is quite difficult with this because when everyone is really fast, it's kind of hard to show you just how fast they are.
Yeah.
And I always say that if I were to take part in this, I'd be somewhere off the back of all of this, you know. But I think Lightning's been the most consistent.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's always putting in those performances and always being able to be at the front no matter what the situation. But let's see, RC Snake 91 is certainly right there and very much close enough to win this race. Now, this is a battle. You can see the train of cars. Look at that in the background. Is that behind Manu Rodri, or is Manu Rodri involved in that? I think it's behind the Portuguese driver. That train, isn't it? Or was it Lopez?
Yeah, you can see it's Lopez here and it starts there. So Coca Lopez, maybe not.
It
kind of starts around.
Yeah, it kind of starts around there, doesn't it? And just files back. But Fuvros, luckily for him, he's kind of away from this slightly, but not too far behind these two. Certainly Josite and RK23. Two more very impressive drivers.
He was lucky because I think of the incident that he had at the start.
Yes.
And now he's running in third place. Of course, Fuvros, if you don't know, is Papi Plaja. This is new username. It's a bit confusing for us when people change teams.
I know.
We come up and we start to learn the names, and then they will change again.
Yeah. And you don't want to assume that's them. You know, that's a situation I've certainly had in races at the times, but sort of wait till it gets confirmed for you. But this is getting closer. I think Fuvros was away from this, and I'm going to retract that statement because he certainly isn't anymore. It's changed very quickly. PR1 and RK23 getting very close now. And this is a good onboard to see because now we can see how close Josite is and how hard he's pushing as well.
I think what I'd love to see is an onboard maybe from RK23 at the back of this and trying to find a way by. You can just he's just pulling away now for Ross. Here is RK23, and there you go. Our wishes have been granted. And this is the best section on the circuit for me. It's just a section about 100% commitment, just making sure you're in the right place at the right time. You go over the crest here, the car wants to go to the left, and then you have to pitch it back over to the right. Get tight to the inside here. You don't really want to run too wide there because you get off line with this next corner. And you can see it's just one big flowing section where I've always said that a good driver will make up time. And saying that, looks like Ross actually made a little bit of a gap there over Josite and RK23, who we're riding on board with. Very tricky uphill left-hander here. It's a blind corner, and you have to throw it over this crest. And usually this curve is a no-go zone. You hit that, and just ping you into the barrier. But these road cars with a slightly softer suspension, they can get over there and be nice and easy. A little bit of air over here.
There we go. Yeah.
On the brakes, usually you brake a little bit before that to make sure you don't go wide and do what Josite does there. Really put it into the gravel. That would have been very upsetting. And saying that, Fuvros in front is extending the circuit, more than I like to say. And this is just a roller coaster section. It's just a matter of putting the car in the perfect place. And you can see they're using all the road and a bit more to get through here.
Wow.
It's great to watch someone who's competent in this and really doing well.
anything else in the passenger seat there, I'd need a bucket to hand straight away as soon as I got out of the car there, because yeah, that does that does look like a pretty scary roller coaster indeed. Now there we can see the train behind getting closer and closer, and this is going to be interesting now, staying with this group, because everything is going to close up between all, I don't know, 10 of these drivers as we come round now the long right-hander to take us onto the back straight. I think RK23 is placed very nicely here to go straight past Josset as they come onto the back straight now, past the penalty line. Thankfully, no one being awarded any of those at the moment.
I think he's all right, RK23, because he's got a big enough gap to Coque Lopez behind that he's not going to have to worry about that coming down this way.
No.
But Fivros and Josset, well, Fivros hasn't got a draft at all. And Josset, of course, is going to have one from Fivros, but when he pulls out, he's going to be pulling RK23 with him. So here we go then, yeah. Here's the speed coming in. You can see Fivros starting just to pull back a little bit. He can't really do much about it, but he's right in the middle of the road, so I'm making this tricky for you if you're going to try it. And that's a good position there for Fivros. And now RK23 has the run. Will he do anything with it, though?
Well, Josset backed off there and decided to just stay in behind. Sensible driving on lap 2 of 3. And I think RK23, well, I had no choice but to stay behind, but all good on the brakes through there. Very difficult to nail that one, I think, as we mentioned on the last lap. And I don't think we had too many changes behind, actually. I think things pretty much stayed as they were. Certainly not between these three, anyway, and not our leaders either. But we'll stay with these three for now, because it is very close indeed between Fivros, Josset and RK23. And Josset just going to the middle of the circuit there. And I think, is he going to dive down the inside? He is. And Josset is going to pick up 3rd place. In the background, Rostig and Coque Lopez going side by side. But Josset picks up 3rd, but only briefly. Fivros gets back on the switchback, so Fivros it is who's going to be 3rd place. They're still going to be side by side. Josset, I think, is going to have to back out of this one and is given no option but to do so.
That's what happens there. You can really dive it into the first corner. It's a big hairpin, but you then have to try and slow it down and get it round the next left-hander, and Fivros was just positioned better for that. Got the better run out, and Josset's move, whilst brave, unfortunately, didn't prove to be very effective. So we're on the final lap now, so this is the last time coming through the GP circuit. You see that the tyre wear starting to come into play there. All 3 cars there went a little bit wide going into the Dunlop hairpin, but I think managed to kind of drive it through and didn't lose too much time. But this is definitely going to be the battle for us to watch. I mean, we do have DRL Lightning and RC Snake a bit further up the road, but Lightning seems to pull a little bit of a gap to Snake, so it looks like the battle for 3rd is going to be the one that we focus on towards the end of the race.
Yeah, well, certainly if it stays like this, and in the background I can see Manu Rodri is closed right in on his countryman Coque Lopez.
Oh, he lost a place there.
Yes, good spot. Yeah, Rostig is through. So we saw them side by side for a little bit of time. I imagine somewhere else around the circuit Rostig was able to get through. So Coque Lopez is down to 7th place. Manu Rodri is there in 8th place. Then we've got PCM in 9th. Nico N is in 10th place and right in there as well. So this goes from 6th down to 10th, this battle. And I tell you what, Rostig is only 1.2 seconds behind. I wonder if now, taking nothing away from Coque, if Rostig is into 6th, is he the man to just bring this train up to the battle ahead?
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think that the person in front is essentially pushing a hole through the air for everyone to follow in around here. And given that these things don't really rely that much on aerodynamics, you can they're quite slippy in a straight line. As soon as there is a hole to follow through, you just gain a little bit of speed everywhere on the circuit, and they're really putting onto the back now of the battle for 3rd place. So Rostig is catching RK23, of course, is on the back of this battle, and this is going to end up being 3rd to 10th in one train here. One mistake from anyone is going to see a big change in the order. Rostig then nearly made a mistake himself, sideways going down the hill, managed to cover it back up again. Now there's the view back, so that's Williams, Coque Lopez. Not really a sight you want to see in your mirror at any point, to be honest. And then we go for this fast right-hander, down with the brakes, back on the power, try and hit this apex here, then run to the left-hand side of the track, and Rostig did that perfectly, just about used all the white line, but didn't quite touch the grass. That's exactly how you want to do it, and it's a lot harder than it looks, trust me.
Yeah, well, Rostig had brought that gap down to about 6/10, but it's gone back up to a second. But plenty of time still. We may be on the last lap there. There's still quite a way to go in this race, and Rostig has enough time to do this, particularly with the 3 drivers ahead only split by 7/10, and well, a little bit deep on the brakes, but seemed to make a good job of it still there. Rostig absolutely flying.
He was a bit deep on the way in, but he actually carried the speed on the exit. As such, gained about 3 tenths of the guy in front just in that one corner. And so basically, the person setting the pace now for this pack is William Triveros at the start of the third. The guys behind him can't go any faster than he can. There's no way by, which means that Rostig is now starting. I mean, he's right in between the packs now. It might look like a. No, he's right at the back now.
Yeah.
So he's going to start getting the draft now from RK23. And hopefully get back into this pack. I think as Coco Lopez is struggling to follow. He's only about half a second at 8 tenths off, but that's a lot in this car, especially when you're trying to get the toe. The toe is not very far behind this machine. So coming through the left-hander now, very, very close to the side. We've seen what can happen there before. And you see Jose getting all kinds of wrong there. Sideways, slows up. RK23 will stick, look to the inside. RK23 sees it coming and then just defends the inside line. That's not going to slow them both up, which is a little bit of improvement for William Triveros at the start of the field there. But you can see just a chain reaction there. RK23 did nothing wrong, but he's the one that had to defend because of Jose.
Yeah, well, Triveros, as you said now, has just been able to break away. Gaps to the left of your screen. You can see it's 1 second back to Josset. So Josset has a little bit of work to do now as we go around the last lap of this round 5 race. RK23, 5th place, just ahead of us. We're on board with Rostig, who has done all the hard work in a very short amount of time. Got through to 6th place at the start of the last lap, and now Rostig has chased down the pack ahead, which may now be a battle for 4th place, but there is still a chance, if there could be a mistake from Fruveros or very good driving from Josset, that we could close back in. But Josset just seems to be making 1 or 2 mistakes that we didn't see him making before. It looks like we've had our 10th place driver drop away from this at some stage. But are you seeing signs of that as well from Josset?
It does seem that, because Blajan's now able to pull away. William Triveros is able to pull away. So now if I was RK23, I'd be pushing Josset up the hill. I wouldn't be trying to overtake at this point, because there's not really much point to do so. You need to try and work together to try and catch William Triveros there in third, because that gap's now only 1.5 seconds. If RK23 can give him a little bit of a bump without being too aggressive, of course, bear in mind there are contact penalties in GT Sport, so it's definitely walking a tightrope when you decide to do that. But that can help. You know, bump drafting is a viable strategy in GT Sport. It's something that I think maybe could be helping him here if they decided to do it. But I see that Triveros has lost about 3 tenths out the hill, so the draft is still in effect even from this far back. Triveros very wide there on the exit, and that's going to cost him quite a chunk of time. That gap has now gone from, it's pretty much halved down to 7 tenths of a second. So a couple of bad corners, and that's it. It's all back into contention again.
Yeah, well, we're not far away now. We're getting towards the end stages of the race here, and Fruveros is just dropping into the clutches of Josset, and I'd say Josset is definitely within a range to pick up a toe as we go on to the carousel, the first of 2, and Josset taking that very nicely, as you've said before, only 1 line round there, and everyone seemed to get round it okay, and Fruveros has lost a lot of time round it, so half a second, the gap between 3rd to 4th now. Who have we got in this battle? We've got Josset, RK23, Rostig, Coque, Manu Rodri, then we've got PCM. They are the drivers in this. Yeah, we'll just reel off the names, but yeah, there you can see it goes all the way down to 9th place.
There we are then, last time through the last sector. Josset, I think, has regained some composure, but now, because we've seen on the previous laps that Fruveros is really strong through this last sector, and he needs to do that. He needs a gap of about a second at least coming on to the last straight, and even with that he'll still be under attack from the guys behind because of the draft. It's such a long straight, the Dottinger that trying to fend anyone off there is incredibly difficult. But here we are, then Josset again sideways, and whilst being sideways in this car is somewhat beneficial, there is an angle of no return, so to speak, when you start losing time like that, for example, and that's going to keep costing Josset. Just a penalty in the background.
Yeah, someone got one.
I think that's
Coque Lopez, yeah.
So he's going to, that's pretty much his race done now, which is a real shame for him. It's only 0.5 of a second, but that's going to really hurt him coming down the straight. That's just a corner cut. He's got a bit too aggressive there on the corners, I think.
Yeah, so that's a real shame for Coque Lopez. A lot of hard work, and unfortunately he's going to be undone as we get to the end of the race. But gap between 3rd to 4th now a second. Josset dealing with this pressure very well, I've got to say, but isn't quite able to stay within reach of Fruveros at the moment. But RK23 and Rostig right there. It's going to be a 3-way tussle for 4th place at the very least, as now RK23 just closing in on the brakes, getting a little bit sideways. Fantastic driving there.
Commitment there from RK23. Look at this. He's really driving it into the corner. The gap just comes down and down more into the second carousel. A little bit of contact there from RK23. He knows that, like, come on, we've got to get on with this. Fivros is getting away, and there will be a draft down the straight, so I don't think Fivros is safe. It's 1.2 seconds, but that draft is quite strong. Does reach back quite a way. Let's see what RK23 does here. Will he push him, or will he just go on his own straight away? So here we go then. Last straight, it's anyone's game.
Right, here we go. RK23, let's see what he does as we come down the straight. This is on board, looking back from Josset. Here comes RK23, the Dutch driver, getting closer and closer. That will only exaggerate that toe as we get towards the end of the straight, but Josset clearly has done a good job to back him up somewhere, because RK23 doesn't seem to be closing in unless he doesn't want to, but RK23, well, not closing in at the moment. We've still got a little bit of time left. Out front, TRL Lightning looks to be safe, and it looks as if TRL Lightning is going to take victory at round number 5 from RC Snake. Here comes RK23. Let's go back with our leader, though. He's driven absolutely superbly. It's going to be a lights to flag victory for TRL Lightning across the line. Round 5 victory goes to the German on home soil. RC Snake 91 will finish in second place, and Fuveros dealt with pressure extremely well on the last lap to take a deserved podium finish in third place. Josset will finish in fourth place, RK23 in 5th place, Rostig in 6th, and it will be Manu Rodri in 7th, PCM in 8th, Oscar 9th, and with that penalty on the last lap, Coque Lopez drops to 10th.
Well, that's a little bit anticlimactic at the end.
It was.
They all kind of thought, I don't think they're all close enough at the end. I thought we were going to see a bit more of the draft event come into play, but we didn't there as the rest of our drivers come across the line and claim the checkered flag. That's Murata. What could have been for him? Our championship leader comes home in 14th position, and he'll be very upset with that.
He never really made any positions back.
No,
it's very strange.
I think he just ended up getting caught in the train. It's so hard to overtake around here, Chris. As soon as you're at the back of the train, you're essentially, well, you're there until someone else makes a mistake, and that was his race.
Well, there was no mistakes made by TRL Lightning, and he took the win by 1.3 seconds from RC Snake 91. Fuveros Williams was in third place. A very strong podium that. There you can see first to 8th positions, and particularly look at the gap between 3rd to 8th. Very close indeed, just over 2 seconds, and here was 9th through to 16th for Oscar Coque Lopez down there as well, just outside of the top 10. We had the Portuguese driver Aguilar. Adria was in 12th place. We mentioned Pirata 14th. Not a good race for TRL Org either, finishing down in 15th place. And well, let's pull up the rest of the drivers. There you had a quick look at them. And now let's pull up the points. Round 5 completed. Pirata still has the championship lead. RC Snake 91 has gone up to 2nd and has closed that gap down ever so slightly. Rostig on the move. Will he continue out as the championship goes on? He is now up into a healthy 9th place. Well, if you enjoyed that racing from the GR Supra GT Cup, please do join us. We're going to have an exhibition race at the Nürburgring with a live broadcast on June the 21st. We saw some fantastic racing today. We're going to see some fantastic racing there. So make sure you join us. But for now, it's goodbye.